3 sweets plus 5 pence equals 35 pence. How much is 1 sweet? Well, pause the video for a moment and think about it. Well, 30 plus 5 would give you 35. So 3 sweets cost 30 pence, then divide by 3, 1 sweet would be 10 pence. Now look at this equation. Solve for s, where 3s plus 5 equals 35. Well, this is exactly the same as what we had a few moments ago. Instead of sweet, I'm using s for sweet. So 3 sweets plus 5 pence equals 35 pence, which works out at 1 sweet costs 10 pence. So how could we solve this? Well, firstly, let's get rid of the plus 5. So what's the opposite of adding 5? The opposite is subtracting 5. So let's subtract 5 from both sides of our equation. So minus 5 on the left hand side of the equal sign and minus 5 on the right hand side of the equal sign. So on the left hand side, plus 5 and minus 5 cancel out. So we're left with 3s equals 35 take away 5, which is 30. So 3s, or 3 sweets if you like, cost 30. So how much is 1 sweet? We'll simply divide by 3. I'm going to use the fraction divide line, divide by 3 on both sides. So in other words, 3s divided by 3 is 1s. So 1s equals 10. And we normally don't write it as 1s, we just write it as s on its own. So s equals 10 is our solution, which is what we had previously. 3 sweets minus 5 pence equals 25 pence. How much is 1 sweet? Well, pause the video for a moment and think about it. Well, 3 sweets take away 5 is 25. So 30 take away 5 would be 25, wouldn't it? And then you divide the 30 by 3 to get 10. So it's exactly the same as previously. 1 sweet costs 10 pence. We can now write this in terms of the equation. So solve for s, where 3s minus 5 equals 25. So the first thing we want to get rid of is this minus 5, or subtract 5. What's the opposite of subtract 5? The opposite of that is add 5. So let's add 5 to both sides of our equation. So plus 5 and plus 5. So on the left hand side, minus 5 and plus 5 will cancel out. So we're left with 3s. And 25 plus 5 is 30. And then again, as before, divide by 3 both sides. We can use the fraction divide line. So divide by 3 on both sides of our equation. So 3s divided by 3 is 1s. So 1s equals 10. And we write it as s equals 10. Our final answer. 2 lollipops plus 10 pence equals 50 pence. How much is 1 lollipop? Pause the video for a few moments. Well, hopefully you worked out that 20 pence plus 20 pence would be 40 pence, and 40 pence plus 10 pence would be 50 pence. In other words, 1 lollipop would be 20 pence. This is exactly the same as the previous example. I've written L for lollipop. So solve for L, where 2L plus 10 equals 50. Well, firstly, let's get rid of this plus 10. So the opposite of adding 10 is subtracting 10. So let's subtract 10 from both sides of our equation. So on the left hand side we have plus 10 and minus 10, so they'll cancel out. So we're left with 2L equals 50 minus 10, which is 40. And then to get 1L, simply divide by 2. So we use the fraction divide line, divide by 2 on both sides. So 2L divided by 2 is 1L equals 20. And we normally just write it as L rather than 1L. So the cost of a lollipop, or L, equals 20. Solve for x, where 4x plus 3 equals 19. Pause the video for a few moments and try this yourself. So we want to solve for x. So let's get rid of this plus 3 first of all. The opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3. So let's subtract 3 from both sides of our equation. So we have plus 3 and minus 3 on the left hand side, so they cancel. So on the left hand side we're left with 4x equals 19 minus 3, which is 16. So we want to find out what x or 1x is. So let's divide both sides by 4. So use our fraction divide line, divide by 4 both sides of our equation. So 4x divided by 4 would be 1x. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And we normally just write it as x rather than 1x. So our solution, x equals 4, is our final answer. I'm just going to show you an alternative method now. So we have 4x plus 3 equals 19. So what some people do is they take this plus 3 and they move it over to the other side, and it changes its sign so it becomes minus 3. So 4x equals 19 minus 3. And then we do exactly the same for the rest. So we have 4x equals 16, and then fraction divide line, we divide both sides by 4. So 1x equals 4, or x equals 4. So it's just a slightly different way of doing it. So both methods are equally valid, whichever you prefer. Now solve for x where 7x minus 5 equals 16. So pause the video for a moment and try it yourself first. Okay, so we have 7x minus 5 equals 16. We want to solve for x. So let's get rid of this minus 5 first. So the opposite of minus 5 is plus 5. So let's add 5 to both sides of our equation. So on the left hand side we have minus 5 and plus 5, so they cancel out. So we have 7x equals 16 plus 5, which is 21. And then to get x or 1x, simply divide both sides by 7. So we can use our fraction divide line here, divide by 7 on the left, and we do the same, divide by 7 on the right. 7x divided by 7 is 1x. 21 divided by 7 is 3. And remember, we usually just write it as x rather than 1x. So that's our final answer.